Jake Morrison pressed his back against the cold concrete wall. His breathing was quiet and careful. Through the broken window above him, he could see the massive alien ship floating over what used to be Chicago. The ship was dark gray and bigger than any building he had ever seen. It had been there for 6 months now. The city below was nothing like it used to be. Smoke still rose from burned buildings. Streets were full of broken glass and twisted metal. Human bodies lay where they had fallen months ago. Nobody was allowed to bury them. The aliens wanted everyone to see what happened when humans tried to fight back. Jake heard the heavy footsteps of alien soldiers marching down the street. He stayed very still. The Zephyrians were tall creatures with 4 arms and skin that looked like dark metal. They carried weapons that could burn a hole through a person in seconds. Jake had seen it happen too many times. 6 months ago, Jake had been Lieutenant Commander Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. He had a clean uniform, a warm bed, and hope for the future. Now he wore dirty clothes and hid in ruins like a rat. His beard was long and his eyes were tired. He had not smiled in months. The Zephyrian invasion had lasted only 3 days. 3 days to destroy everything humans had built over thousands of years. Their ships appeared in the sky without warning. Earth's missiles bounced off them like toys. Their weapons turned entire cities to ash in minutes. The human military tried to fight, but it was like throwing rocks at a mountain. Jake remembered the last message from Earth Command. General Paul Carter's voice had been calm, even as explosions shook the background. All units, this is command. We are ... we are losing everywhere. Fight as long as you can. Make them pay for every inch. Earth will remember. Then the signal went dead. Earth Command was gone. The government was gone. Most of the military was gone. The aliens had won before most people even knew the war had started. Now humans were slaves in their own world. Every day, Jake watched long lines of people being marched to work camps. They carried heavy loads while alien guards watched them. The aliens made humans build things for them using their bare hands. Any human who moved too slowly or complained was killed instantly. Jake's stomach made angry noises. He had not eaten in 2 days. Food was hard to find. The aliens controlled everything. They gave humans just enough to keep them alive and working. Nothing more. He heard a sound that made his heart beat faster. It was a human voice speaking, very quietly. Jake looked around carefully and saw a woman hiding behind a pile of broken bricks about 50 feet away. She was speaking into a small radio. "Base, this is Brooks. I'm in Sector 7. The alien patrol just passed. I count 12 guards and about 40 human workers heading to the factory." Jake knew that voice. It was Lisa Brooks. She had been his communications officer before the invasion. He thought she was dead like so many others. Seeing her alive made him feel something he had almost forgotten: hope. Lisa finished her radio call and started to move away. Jake made a choice. He picked up a small stone and threw it near her. She turned quickly, her hand moving to a knife. On her belt. "Lisa," Jake whispered. "It's me, Jake Morrison." Her eyes went wide. She looked around to make sure no aliens were watching, then moved quickly to where he was hiding. "Jake? I can't believe it. We thought you died in the bombing of the harbor base." "Almost did," Jake said. "Been hiding ever since. What about you? Who were you talking to on that radio?" Lisa sat down next to him. She looked older than before. There were new lines on her face and a scar on her left hand. "There are still some of us left. We have small groups hiding in different parts of the city, maybe 200 people total. We try to help each other find food and stay hidden." "Are any of them military?" "Some. Mostly low-ranking soldiers and a few officers. No one high up." The aliens killed all the generals and admirals first. Jake felt anger building in his chest. The aliens had not just defeated humanity. They had tried to destroy their spirit, too. They wanted humans to forget they had ever been free. What do you do? Besides hide, I mean. Lisa was quiet for a moment. Mostly just survive. Sometimes we steal food or medicine. We help people escape from the work camps when we can. But it's not really fighting. We're just ... existing. Through the window, they heard the sound of alien. Vehicle is approaching. Both humans became very still. The vehicles moved slowly down the street. Jake could see alien soldiers inside, their forearms holding different weapons. After the vehicles passed, Lisa spoke again. There's something you should know. Tomorrow they're going to execute more human prisoners. In the main square. They do it every week now. They want everyone to watch. Who are they executing? Military officers mostly. Anyone they think might cause trouble this week. She stopped and took a deep breath. This week they have General Carter. Jake's hands became fists. General Carter was the man who had trained him. The man who had given the last order for humans to keep fighting. If he was still alive, it meant he had been captured instead of killed in battle. The aliens had kept him alive for 6 months, just so they could kill him in public. How many people will they make watch? Hundreds. Maybe thousands. They force people to come from all the work camps. Anyone who looks away or tries to leave gets shot. Jake was quiet for a long time. He thought about General Carter. He thought about all the humans working as slaves. He thought about the alien. Ships floating over his world like dark clouds. Lisa, he said finally, I'm tired of hiding. She looked at him with worried eyes. What do you mean? I mean, maybe it's time to stop just surviving. Maybe it's time to start fighting again. Jake, you saw what happened to our military. You saw what their weapons can do. We have nothing that can hurt them. Maybe, but they're not gods. They bleed. I've seen it, and they're getting lazy. They think we're beaten forever. Lisa shook her head. Even if we could hurt them, there are so few of us left. What could we possibly do against their whole army? Jake looked out at the alien ship floating. Above the city, its dark metal surface seemed to mock him. But for the first time in months, he felt something besides fear and sadness. He felt anger. Clean, pure anger. I don't know yet, he said. But tomorrow, when they try to murder General Carter in front of everyone, I'm going to be there. And I'm not going to just watch. Lisa stared at him. That's suicide, Jake. Maybe. Or maybe it's time to show these aliens what humans are really made of. The alien ship above them continued floating in the gray sky. But something had changed in the ruins below. A spark had been lit in the darkness. And sparks, if given the right fuel, could become fires. The main square was packed with humans. Alien guards stood around the edges with their weapons ready. Jake counted at least 50 Zephyrian soldiers. Their forearms moved constantly as they watched the crowd for any sign of trouble. Jake stood near the back with Lisa and 3 other survivors she had brought. Tony Rodriguez was a former Marine sergeant with muscles that his torn shirt could barely hide. Kate Williams had been an intelligence officer before the invasion. Amy Foster was a young engineer who looked scared but determined. In the center of the square, a platform had been built from scrap metal. 5 human prisoners stood on it with their hands tied behind their backs. General Carter was in the middle. Even after 6 months in alien prison, he stood straight and tall. His gray hair was longer now, but his eyes still burned with the fire. Jake remembered War Commander Vextar stepped onto the platform. He was bigger than the other aliens, with extra metal pieces attached to his dark skin. When he spoke, his voice was loud and harsh. Humans, he said in broken English. "You see these criminals. They refuse to accept new order. They think humans can still fight. Today you learn what happens to such foolishness." The crowd was silent. Jake could see fear on every face. Parents held their children close. Old people stared at the ground. Everyone knew that looking away meant death. Vexstar walked to the first prisoner, a young soldier Jake didn't know. The alien raised his weapon. "No," General Carter said clearly. "Kill me first." Vexstar turned to look at him. "You are eager to die, old human?" "I'm eager to get this over with." "You want to make a point?" "I'm the highest-ranking officer you have. Kill me and be done with it." The alien commander made a sound that might have been laughter. "Very well, you will die first, but the others will still follow." He walked to General Carter and raised his weapon. The crowd held its breath. "Any last words, human general?" Carter looked out at the crowd. His eyes found Jake for just a moment. Then he spoke in a voice that carried across the entire square. "You don't know what we're capable of?" The weapon fired. General Carter fell, but his words hung in the air like a challenge. Jake felt something break inside him. Not break like glass, but break like chains. He had been hiding for 6 months, watching his people suffer, doing nothing. No more. He started moving forward through the crowd. Lisa grabbed his arm. "Jake, don't. There are too many of them." "Let go," he said quietly. "This won't help anyone." "You'll just die too." Jake looked at her. "Maybe, but the general was right. They don't know what we're capable of." He pulled free and kept moving forward. The alien was about to kill the second prisoner when Jake's voice cut through the air. "Hey, ugly!" Every alien in the square turned to look at him. The crowd around him backed away, leaving him standing alone. 50 alien weapons pointed at him. "You have something to say, human?" Vexstar called out. Jake walked closer to the platform. His heart was beating fast, but his voice was steady. "Yeah, I do. You think you've won. You think we're beaten. But you're wrong." Vexstar's 4 arms moved in what Jake had learned was alien amusement. One human thinks he can challenge the Zephyrian Empire. You are either very brave or very stupid. "Maybe both," Jake said. "But here's what I know. You had to use your biggest ships and your best weapons to beat us. And even then, it took you 3 whole days. 3 days to defeat a species that didn't even know you existed until you showed up." The alien commander's amusement faded. "Your point, human?" "My point is that we're still here. You killed our soldiers, but we're still here. You destroyed our cities, but we're still here. You make us slaves, but we're still here. And as long as we're here, you haven't really won." Murmurs ran through the crowd. Jake could see some humans standing a little straighter. "Enough talk," Vexstar said. He pointed his weapon at Jake. "Join your general in death." But before he could fire, an explosion shook the square. Then another. Alien vehicles on the edge of the square burst into flames. The guards spun around, trying to figure out where the attacks were coming from. Tony Rodriguez and Kate Williams had moved during Jake's speech. They had gotten close to parked alien vehicles and used grenades that Amy Foster had somehow made from scrap parts. The distraction worked perfectly. "Now!" Jake shouted. The crowd erupted into chaos. Humans scattered in all directions. Some ran for cover, but others picked up rocks and pieces of metal. They attacked the confused alien guards. Jake jumped onto the platform and untied the remaining prisoners. One of them was Colonel Steve Harris, a pilot he knew from before the war. "Good to see you're not dead, Morrison," Harris said as they ran for cover. "Save the reunion for later," Jake replied. They made it to the edge of the square, where Lisa was waiting with a stolen alien vehicle. Everyone piled in as weapons. Fire erupted behind them. "Drive," Tony shouted. "Drive like hell." Lisa pushed the vehicle as fast as it would go. They raced through the ruined streets with alien patrol ships following them. Amy Foster worked frantically with a device she had built. "What's that?" Jake asked. "Signal jammer," she said. "I've been studying their technology. If I can block their communications for a few minutes, we might lose them." She pressed a button. The pursuing ships suddenly slowed down and started flying in circles. "It worked," Kate said. "They can't talk to each other." They reached the old subway tunnels and abandoned the vehicle. The group ran deep underground where the aliens couldn't follow with their ships in the darkness of the tunnels. They finally stopped to catch their breath. "That was either the bravest thing I've ever seen or the stupidest," Steve Harris said to Jake. "Maybe both," Jake said, remembering what he had told the alien commander. "Well, stupid or not, it worked," Tony said. "Did you see their faces when the vehicles exploded?" They weren't expecting any kind of fight. Amy Foster was examining pieces of alien equipment she had grabbed during the escape. "Their technology is advanced, but it's not magic. I think I can figure out how some of it works." "What about their communications?" Kate asked. "Can you jam them again?" "Maybe, but more importantly, I think I can learn to copy their signals. If we can make them think messages are coming from their own command, we might be able to confuse them." Jake looked around at the small group. They were dirty, tired, and hungry. They had no army, no ships, and no support from any government. But they had something the aliens didn't expect. They had hope. "Lisa," he said, "you mentioned other groups hiding in the city. How many total?" "Maybe 200 people scattered around. Most are just trying to survive. What if we could bring them together? What if we could give them a reason to fight instead of just hide?" "It's possible," she said slowly. "But Jake, even if we got all 200 people working together, what could we really do? The aliens have thousands of soldiers and those giant ships." Jake thought about General Carter's last words. He thought about the look of surprise on the alien faces when the explosion started. He thought about Amy Foster studying alien technology in the dark. "We start small," he said. "We hit their supplies. We mess with their communications. We make them nervous. And we show other humans that these aliens can be hurt." "A guerrilla war," Steve Harris said. "Hit and run tactics." "Exactly. We can't beat them in a straight fight, but we can make them pay for staying here. And maybe, if we're smart and lucky, we can find a way to hurt them badly enough that they decide Earth isn't worth the trouble." Tony Rodriguez smiled for the first time since Jake had met him. "I like it. When do we start?" Jake looked up toward the surface where alien ships patrolled the ruins of his world. Somewhere up there, Vextar was probably angry about what had happened in the square. Good. Angry enemies made mistakes. "We start now," Jake said. "It's time to show them what humans are really made of." In the darkness of the subway tunnel, a resistance was born. It was small and weak, but it was growing. And like General Carter had said, the aliens had no idea what humans were capable of when they decided to fight back. 3 weeks after the rescue in the square, Jake's small group had grown to 50 people. They lived in the old subway tunnels beneath Chicago, moving from station to station to avoid alien patrols. Word of their actions was spreading through the city's hidden networks. Amy Foster had become their most valuable member. She worked day and night with pieces of alien technology they had stolen during raids. Her small workspace was filled with glowing devices and tangled wires. "I think I've got it," she said, holding up a modified alien communicator. "This should let us listen to their radio traffic, maybe even send fake messages." Jake watched as she turned on the device. Harsh alien voices filled the tunnel, speaking in their own language. "Can you understand what they're saying?" he asked. Some of it, I've been learning their words. This patrol is reporting that Sector 12 is clear. That one is asking for more guards at the power plant. Kate Williams looked up from the map she was studying. The power plant. That's perfect. If we could shut it down, half their base would go dark. Too dangerous, Tony Rodriguez said. That place has at least 100 guards. Not if we're smart about it, Jake said. Amy, how well do you understand their radio codes? Pretty well. Why? What if we could make them think there was an emergency somewhere else? Draw most of the guards away from the power plant. Amy's eyes lit up. I could send a fake distress signal. Make them think one of their ships was being attacked on the other side of the city. Steve Harris nodded slowly. While they're rushing to help a ship that doesn't need help, we hit the power plant with a small team. It could work, Lisa said, but we'd need perfect timing. Jake felt excitement building in his chest. This was the kind of operation that could really hurt the aliens. And if they pulled it off, it would show every human in the city that the enemy could be beaten. 2 days later, everything was ready. Amy had practiced sending fake radio messages until she could copy the alien codes perfectly. Jake had picked his team: himself, Tony, Steve, and 3 other volunteers. The rest would create distractions around the city to confuse the aliens. Even more, they waited until night fell over the ruined city. Amy sent the fake distress signal, claiming that human rebels were attacking a Zephyrian transport ship near the old airport. Within minutes, they could hear alien vehicles racing across the city toward the false emergency. Jake's team moved quickly through the dark streets. The power plant sat in the middle of what used to be an industrial district. It was a Zephyrian design, all sharp angles and glowing panels. But it had been built on top of the old human power plant, using the same basic systems. Remember, Jake whispered as they approached the fence. In and out fast. Tony, you handle the guards. Steve, you're with me on the main generators. Everyone else watches for patrols. They cut through the fence and slipped inside. Amy had been right about the guard numbers. Instead of 100 soldiers, there were only 20 patrolling the whole facility. The rest had gone to help with the fake emergency. Tony moved like a shadow, taking out guards silently, with hand signals Jake barely caught. The man was a professional soldier, and it showed. One by one, the alien sentries disappeared without raising an alarm. Jake and Steve made it to the main generator building. The alien technology was strange, but the basic principles were the same as human power systems. Steve, who had been an engineer before becoming a pilot, studied the control panels. I can overload the main reactor, he said quietly. But it'll take about 10 minutes to build up enough charge to blow the whole system. How big an explosion? Big enough to take out the power plant and probably damage their base next door. But Jake, once I start this process, we can't stop. We'll have exactly 10 minutes to get clear before this whole place goes up. Jake thought about it. 10 minutes was a long time when alien soldiers might come back at any moment. But if they could destroy the power plant and damage the alien base, it would be their biggest victory yet. Do it. Steve's hands moved over. The alien controls. Warning lights began flashing on the panels. In the distance, they could hear the hum of the generators changing pitch. That's it, Steve said. 10 minutes from now, this place becomes a crater. They ran back toward the fence where the rest of the team was waiting. But as they reached the exit, they heard the sound they had been dreading. Alien vehicles returning from the fake emergency. They figured it out, Tony said grimly. Someone's coming back. The first alien patrol ship appeared over the power plant just as Jake's team reached the fence. Bright lights swept the ground, searching for intruders. Run! Jake shouted. They scattered into the dark streets as alien weapons began firing behind them. The patrol ship followed, its lights tracking their movement. More ships appeared in the sky, surrounding the area. Jake found himself separated from the others, hiding behind a pile of rubble as alien soldiers searched the streets. He could hear them shouting to each other in their harsh language. They knew humans were in the area, but they couldn't find them in the maze of ruined buildings. His radio crackled softly. It was Amy's voice, barely a whisper. "Jake, you need to know something. I've been listening to their communications. They're not just looking for us. They're bringing in engineers to shut down the reactor overload." Jake's heart sank. If the aliens could stop the overload, all of this would be for nothing. How long until they figure it out? Maybe 5 minutes. Steve made it complicated, but their engineers are good. Jake looked at his watch. They still had 7 minutes until the explosion. If the aliens could stop it in 5 minutes, the whole mission would fail. He made a decision that scared him. "Amy, can you delay them? Send false radio messages to confuse. They're engineers? I can try, but Jake, where are you? We need to get out of here." "I'm going back." "What?" "Jake, no. The whole place is going to explode. Only if someone stops their engineers from shutting it down. I'm the only one close enough." Before Amy could argue, Jake turned off his radio and started moving back toward the power plant. The alien patrol ships were still searching the outer areas. Most of the ground soldiers were spread out through the streets. The power plant itself had fewer guards than before. Jake slipped back through the fence and made his way to the generator building. Through the windows, he could see alien engineers working frantically at the control panels. They had already figured out what Steve had done and were trying to reverse it. He had maybe 3 minutes before they succeeded. Jake found a back entrance to the building. The door was locked with alien technology, but Amy had taught him a few tricks. He managed to get it open and slipped inside. The alien engineers were too focused on their work to notice him at first. There were 4 of them, all smaller than the soldiers, but with extra mechanical arms for precise work. They were talking quickly to each other as they worked on the controls. Jake pulled out the alien weapon he had taken from a guard during an earlier raid. He had never used one before, but Amy had shown him how it worked. "Step away from the controls," he said loudly. The aliens spun around, their multiple arms reaching for weapons. But Jake was already moving. The first shot from his weapon sent one engineer flying across the room. The others scattered, trying to find cover, but they were engineers, not soldiers. Jake managed to hit 2 more before the last one reached an alarm panel. Warning sirens began blaring throughout the facility. Jake looked at his watch. 2 minutes left. The remaining engineer was hiding behind a control panel, trying to continue the shutdown process while staying out of Jake's line of fire. Jake could see alien soldiers running toward the building. He made one last desperate choice. Instead of trying to hunt down the remaining engineer, he turned his weapon on the control panels themselves. The alien technology exploded in showers of sparks and smoke. Now there was no way to stop the overload. Jake ran for the exit as alien soldiers poured into the building. Weapons fire lit up the night behind him. He made it about 50 yards before something hit him in the shoulder, spinning him around and sending him to the ground. He tried to get up, but his left arm wouldn't work properly. Blood was soaking through his shirt. The aliens were getting closer. Then he heard the most beautiful sound in the world. Human voices shouting his name. Tony Rodriguez and 3 other team members appeared from nowhere, their stolen alien weapons cutting down the pursuing soldiers. They grabbed Jake and half-carried, half-dragged him away from the power plant. 30 seconds. Steve's voice came over the radio. "Everyone get down." They threw themselves behind a concrete barrier just as the power plant exploded. The blast was enormous. Light brighter than the sun lit up the night sky. The shockwave knocked Jake flat, even behind cover. When he looked up, the entire power plant was gone. So was a large chunk of the alien base next to it. Alien ships were flying in circles overhead, their crews probably blind and deaf from the explosion. Emergency lights were flashing all over the city as backup power systems tried to cope with a sudden loss of the main plant. "Jake!" Amy's voice was excited on the radio. "You should hear their communications. They're in complete panic. Half their systems are down. They don't know what hit them." Jake smiled, despite the pain in his shoulder. Around the city, he could see lights coming on in hidden human shelters. People were looking out of their hiding places and say. 2 months after the power plant explosion, Jake Morrison was no longer just a survivor hiding in ruins. He was the leader of a global resistance network that the aliens were starting to fear. The explosion had changed everything. News of the successful attack spread through hidden radio networks across Earth. Other resistance groups began coordinating with Jake's team. What started as 50 people in Chicago, tunnels had grown into thousands of fighters on every continent. Jake's shoulder had healed, but it still ached when the weather changed. Amy Foster said it was because alien weapons left traces of energy that human bodies couldn't fully process. She had become their expert on enemy technology, and her discoveries were shared with resistance cells worldwide. "Jake, you need to see this," Amy said, looking up from her latest project. Her workspace had grown to fill an entire subway station. Stolen alien devices covered every surface. "What is it?" "I've been studying the wreckage from their ships we've shot down. Their computer systems all connect to a central network. It's like one giant brain controlling everything they do. So if we could damage that brain, we could shut down their entire operation on Earth. But Jake, it's not going to be easy. The main network hub is in their primary command ship. The big one that's been floating over New York since the invasion." Jake nodded. He had seen that ship many times on their long-range cameras. It was 3 times larger than any other alien vessel, covered in weapons and shields that had deflected every attack humans had tried. How would we even get close to something like that? Amy smiled. It was the same smile she had worn before every successful mission. "I've been working on that too. Remember how we fooled their communications during the power plant raid? I think I can do something much bigger. I can create a virus that spreads through their network and shuts down their defenses." "A computer virus?" "Exactly. But I need to upload it directly to their main system. Someone would have to get inside that command ship." The idea was insane. The command ship floated a mile above New York City, surrounded by patrol vessels and protected by energy shields. Getting inside would be suicide. But Jake had learned something important over the past months. Sometimes the most insane ideas were the only ones that worked. How long would you need to upload this virus? Maybe 10 minutes. But Jake, whoever goes in there isn't coming back out. Even if the virus works perfectly, that ship will be destroyed when all their systems shut down. Jake was quiet for a long time. Around the resistance base, he could hear the sounds of people preparing for smaller missions. They had hit alien supply convoys, rescued prisoners from work camps, and even shot down several patrol ships. But none of that would matter if the aliens decided to destroy every human city from orbit. "There's something else," Amy continued. "I've been listening to their communications. They're getting ready for what they call a final solution. They want to end the resistance by killing every human on Earth. When? Soon. Maybe weeks. They're bringing in more ships and bigger weapons. War Commander Vexstar is tired of dealing with what he calls the human pest problem." Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. All their victories would mean nothing if the aliens decided to simply exterminate the human race. How many people would it take to get into that command ship? A small team, maybe 6 people. But Jake... "I know. It's a one-way trip. He called a meeting of his top lieutenants. Tony Rodriguez, Kate Williams, Steve Harris, and Lisa Brooks gathered around a table made from alien scrap metal. Amy projected images of the command ship onto the tunnel wall. "This is it," Jake said. "Our chance to end this war. But I won't lie to you. It's a suicide mission." He explained Amy's plan. The room was silent when he finished. "I'm in," Tony said immediately. "Me too," said Steve. "Count me in," Kate added. Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Jake, what about the resistance? If we're all gone, who leads the fight? The fight will be over, one way or another. If this works, the aliens lose their command structure, and their ships stop working. If it doesn't work," he didn't finish the sentence. "Then we all die anyway when they start their final solution," Lisa said grimly. "I'm in." Amy looked up from her computers. "There's one more thing. I need to go too. The virus is complicated. If something goes wrong during the upload, I'm the only one who can fix it. Amy, no, you're too important. If this fails, the resistance needs you too. Jake, if this fails, there won't be a resistance. There won't be anything. This is our only shot." Jake knew she was right. He looked around at his friends, the people who had become his family during these months of fighting. They were all willing to die to give humanity a chance. "All right, we'll need a way to get up to that ship." Steve Harris grinned. "Actually, I've been working on that. Remember how we rescued some of our pilots from the prison camps? Well, they've been busy. We've got 3 human ships hidden in the mountains. They're not much, but they can fly. Can they get us past the alien defenses? Maybe, if we're very lucky and very good. But Jake, once we're committed, there's no turning back. Those ships don't have enough fuel for a round trip." Jake thought about General Carter's last words, about all the humans working as slaves in alien camps, about the children who had grown up knowing only conquest and defeat, about Amy Foster, brilliant and brave, willing to sacrifice everything for a chance at freedom. "When can we launch?" "Tomorrow night. The alien patrol schedule has a gap around midnight. We'll have maybe 30 minutes to get close before they notice us." The next evening, Jake stood in a hidden cave in the mountains outside Chicago. 3 human fighter ships sat on makeshift landing pads. They were old models from before the war, patched with alien technology, and hoped the team made their final preparations. Each person carried Amy's virus on multiple devices in case something happened to her. They had studied the layout of the alien command ship until they could navigate it blindfolded. "Remember," Jake said as they prepared to board the ships, "we're not trying to destroy their ship. We're trying to save our world. Amy uploads the virus, and then we get out any way we can." But everyone knew the truth. They were going to die. The question was whether their deaths would accomplish anything. Jake took one last look at the resistance base. Hundreds of humans were watching from hidden positions. Some were crying. Others stood at attention like soldiers. All of them knew that everything depended on the next few hours. "Let's go show them what humans are made of," Jake said. The 3 ships lifted off into the dark sky. Behind them, every resistance cell on Earth waited to see if their sacrifice would set humanity. Free as they flew toward New York and the massive alien command ship, Jake thought about his journey from hiding survivor to resistance leader. Whatever happened in the next hour, he was proud of what humans had accomplished. They had taken the worst defeat in their history and turned it into the beginning of their greatest victory. The alien command ship grew larger in their windscreen. Soon they would find out if courage and determination were enough to overcome superior technology. Jake smiled grimly. They were about to find out what humans were really capable of. The alien command ship was even bigger up close than Jake had imagined. It stretched across the sky like a dark metal mountain, its surface covered with weapons and glowing panels. Warning lights flashed as the human ships approached. "They've seen us," Steve Harris said over the radio from his fighter. "Enemy ships launching." Jake could see alien patrol vessels rising from the command ship like angry insects. Their weapons began firing, filling the space around the human ships with deadly energy beams. "Stay together," Jake ordered. "Remember, we only need to get close." Enough for Amy to upload the virus. Tony Rodriguez's ship took a hit and started smoking, but he kept flying. "I'm okay," he said, "but my weapons are down." The alien ships were faster and better armed, but Steve Harris had been right about their patrol schedule. There were only a dozen enemy fighters instead of the hundreds that might have been waiting. The human pilots used every trick they had, learned in the months of fighting. "There," Amy pointed through the windscreen. "I can see a docking bay. If we can get inside ... I see it," Jake said. "Steve, Kate, can you keep those patrol ships busy?" "For a few minutes," Kate replied. "But hurry." Jake pushed his ship toward the massive docking bay. Alien fighters followed, their weapons lighting up the night. But suddenly, explosions erupted all around the command ship. The alien patrol vessels turned away from Jake's ship to deal with the new threat. "What the hell?" Tony said. Jake's radio crackled with a familiar voice. It was Elena Vasquez from South America. "Surprise, Jake. You didn't think we'd let you have all the fun, did you?" Resistance fighters from around the world had launched coordinated attacks on alien bases everywhere. They couldn't reach the command ship, but they could make sure every alien soldier was too busy to help defend it. "Now that's what I call timing," Steve said, shooting down an alien fighter. "Go, Jake. We'll cover you." Jake's ship raced toward the docking bay, with Lisa beside him and Amy in the back seat, working frantically on her virus upload device. Alien weapons fire streaked past them, but they made it inside the massive ship. The docking bay was huge and full of alien vehicles. Jake landed hard, damaging his ship's landing gear, but they were inside. That was all that mattered. "How long do you need?" he asked Amy as they ran through corridors filled with surprised alien crew members. 10 minutes once I find their main computer core. "But Jake, these hallways all look the same. I don't know which way to go." Lisa was studying a map Amy had made from intercepted alien communications. "This way. The computer core should be in the center of the ship." They fought their way through corridors as alien soldiers tried to stop them. Jake had gotten good with alien weapons over the months of fighting. Tony Rodriguez was even better, moving like a machine as he cleared their path. Behind them, they could hear more fighting as Steve and Kate landed their damaged ships in the docking bay and followed them into the ship. "Got it," Amy shouted as they reached a massive room filled with glowing computer equipment. "This is their main system." She immediately began connecting her devices to the alien computers. Strange symbols flashed across screens as her virus began to spread through their network. "How long?" Jake asked, watching the doorway for enemy soldiers. 8 minutes. Maybe less if their security doesn't fight back too hard. Alien troops were massing in the corridor outside. Jake could hear War Commander Vextar's voice shouting orders in their harsh language. "They're bringing heavy weapons," Tony said. "We're not going to be able to hold this position much longer." "Do what you can," Jake said. "Amy needs those 8 minutes." The battle in the corridor was fierce. Human fighters with stolen alien weapons fought trained soldiers with superior equipment. One by one, Jake's people fell. Kate Williams went down fighting 3 aliens at once. Steve Harris held a side corridor until an energy blast left him motionless on the floor. 5 more minutes, Amy said, sweat running down her face as she worked. Tony Rodriguez was wounded, but still fighting. Lisa Brooks used her communications equipment to coordinate with resistance cells around the world, directing attacks that kept alien reinforcements busy. "Jake," Amy said suddenly, "the virus is working better than I hoped. It's not just shutting down their defenses. It's spreading to every alien ship connected to their network. What does that mean? It means when this is over, every Zephyrian ship in the solar system will be dead in space. But Jake, there's a problem. The virus is also causing their power systems to overload. This ship is going to explode. How long? Maybe 10 minutes after the upload finishes. We need to get out of here." But even as she said it, they all knew the truth. Their ships were damaged, and the alien forces between them and the docking bay were too strong. They had known this was a one-way mission. "Upload complete," Amy said quietly. "The virus is spreading through their entire fleet. All around them, the sounds of fighting began to change. Alien weapons stopped firing. Emergency lights started flashing throughout the ship. Over the radio, they could hear confused alien voices as their systems failed one by one. Jake looked out through a window at the sky above New York. Alien ships were going dark across the horizon. Some were already falling toward the ground as their engines shut down. "We did it," Lisa said in amazement. "We actually did it." "Yeah," Jake said. "We did." Tony Rodriguez, bleeding from multiple wounds, managed to smile. "So this is what humans are capable of." The command ship shuddered as its power systems began to overload. They had maybe 5 minutes before the explosion that would destroy the alien flagship and everything in it. Jake opened his radio to broadcast on all human frequencies. "This is Jake Morrison to all resistant cells. The alien command ship is down. Repeat, the alien command ship is down. Their entire fleet is shutting down. The war is over. We won." Voices erupted from radios around the world. Cheers, tears, and shouts of victory from humans who had never expected to be free again. Amy Foster, the brilliant engineer who had made it all possible, sat down heavily next to her computers. "I'm glad I got to see this," she said. "I'm glad. We all got to see this." The ship shuddered again, more violently this time. Outside the windows, Jake could see other alien vessels falling from the sky like metal rain. "Jake," Lisa said, "there's something you should know. I've been listening to communications from around the world. It's not just their ships that are going down. The virus spread to their ground bases too. Every alien facility on Earth is shutting down. What about the aliens themselves? Some are surrendering. Others are just leaving. Their transport ships that still work are heading for space as fast as they can." Jake thought about War Commander Vex Star, who had been so confident that humans were nothing but primitives, good only for slave labor. He wondered if the alien commander finally understood what General Carter had meant when he said, "You don't know what we're capable of." The final explosion came sooner than expected. But Jake Morrison died, knowing that his world was free. 6 months later, Admiral Frank Sullivan stood before the newly formed Earth Defense Council. He had been rescued from an alien prison camp when their security systems failed, and now he helped coordinate the planet's recovery. "The alien occupation is officially over," he announced to representatives from every nation on Earth. "The last Zephyrian forces left our solar system 3 days ago. Earth is free." The celebration that followed could be heard around the world. But in a small ceremony later that day, Sullivan spoke to a much smaller group gathered around a memorial in what used to be Chicago. "Jake Morrison and his team saved our world," he said. "They showed the galaxy that humans don't surrender. We don't give up. And we don't let anyone tell us what we're worth." Carol Peterson, the new Secretary of Global Defense, stepped forward to lay flowers at the memorial. "The Zephyrians thought they had conquered a primitive species," she said. "They learned too late that technology isn't everything. They had better ships, better weapons, better communications. But they didn't have what we have. What's that? Asked a young reporter. The absolute refusal to accept defeat. The willingness to sacrifice everything for freedom. And the determination to protect each other no matter what the cost. She looked. Up at the sky, where construction crews were building new space stations with technology reverse-engineered from captured alien equipment. Word has spread throughout the galaxy about what happened here. Other species now know that humans are not to be underestimated. They know that we're capable of turning the worst defeat in our history into our greatest victory. Admiral Sullivan nodded. Intelligence reports suggest that several alien civilizations have canceled plans to expand into human space. They've decided that dealing with humans isn't worth the risk. Good, Peterson said, because Jake Morrison and everyone who died in this war taught the galaxy a lesson they won't forget. They learned what humans are really made of. As the ceremony ended and people began to leave, a young girl approached the memorial. She left a drawing she had made showing human ships fighting alien invaders. At the bottom, in careful letters, she had written, "Thank you for saving us." Her grandmother, who had lived through the occupation, read the words and smiled. "What are humans made of?" she said quietly, repeating the question that had defined their war for freedom. She looked. Up at the stars, where human ships now patrolled to,